Thank you for tuning in. We're back at the National Hurricane Center. This is Ken Graham in our operations area. It's 11:30 or so Eastern Time, 10:30 Central. Got your latest update. Got the brand new forecast at 10 a.m. Central Time. Wanted to pass that on to everybody. The wind's still 85 miles per hour. We got northwest movement, 16 miles an hour. We're right now about 350 miles. Looks like southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi River. So we have the center here, the mouth of the river there. So that's the distance that we're talking about. So right now we got aircraft in here looking at the structure for us. Structure has so much to do with the wind field, and we do expect expanding wind field with time. In addition to that, forecasting for intensification, and in fact we are intensifying quite rapidly. So we are expecting some rapid intensification with the system. So really the big takeaway from the satellite image here is it's big. I mean, you're just starting to see these rain bands. You're starting to see more structure and organization associated with this storm, and that's what we really think is going to continue. One thing I did want to show you real quick too is just jumping onto the radar. You don't necessarily see exactly where the center is, but you're seeing some of these rain bands. You're also seeing, look at this tropical moisture already getting into areas of coastal Alabama, the Mobile area, back into the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and you're starting to see more of that get into southeast Louisiana with time. So some of that tropical moisture already getting into some of these areas. Let's look at that latest forecast. This is the one 10 a.m. Central Time. Not much change. This track has been almost the same for days. Haven't really changed the track at all. Still expecting to get stronger. One thing I do notice is the wind field starting to expand somewhat. That is what we're expecting. Starting to get some of those tropical storm force winds, over 100 miles, 130 miles or so from the center. And that's important as we go forward. And, we start looking at not just the center, we get a lot of wind field outside of that. Becoming a major hurricane, we're still forecasting a Category 4, looking at 140 mile an hour winds at landfall. That is a dangerous, destructive amount of wind. So very important in these areas to have a safe place. If parish officials say to get out of these areas, you definitely got to listen to them. Hurricane warning in red here for portions of southeast Louisiana, back to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, portions of it with a tropical storm warning on the edges, because remember, it's not just about that center. You get those winds up in here, it's just big. You got to think well outside the center with this system. Now with time, some of those winds, you strike the coast with a major hurricane, you stay a hurricane for a while. So some of the wind damage and those power outages is not necessarily just on the coast. You can actually see some of this, Baton Rouge, the Metro Baton Rouge area. You can see some of this move northward. So even inland, have a plan, be ready, because have some power outages in some of these areas, maybe even into Mississippi with time. And if you're going to use a generator, please use those safely. Keep that generator outside. Keep it well away from any open windows. Don't have it in your garage. Please use them safely. We lose so many people after these storms because of carbon monoxide poisoning. Please start reading those manuals now. Start looking online. Start looking at the safety information. If you do that today, you'll be safe when you start using those generators if you need to. So the winds will get there tomorrow morning. So we're going to get there tomorrow morning, start seeing some of this radar. Once again, the wind's well out ahead. So by tomorrow morning, you're going to start seeing some of these tropical force, storm force winds get into this area. So that means, you got to wrap up today. I mean, the bottom line here is you got to have stuff wrapped up today while it's daylight, because those things are going to deteriorate for you tomorrow. So wrap it up. Listen to those parish officials. Listen to those county officials. If they're telling you to leave, please do so. This is a life-threatening, dangerous hurricane headed for Louisiana, with impacts also in Alabama, Mississippi. Storm surge, I mean, you talk about life-threatening. We run thousands of different models. We put it into here. Bigger, smaller hurricane, left, right, throw everything at it. We come up with what's a potential peak surge. 10 to 15 feet is what the model comes up with. That's above ground. That's water up your pant leg, and my shirt, and all the way up my hat, all the way above me. That's as high as your ceiling. It's a long way up your house. So dangerous amount of storm surge, mouth of the Mississippi River to Morgan City, and it gets into every nook and cranny. It gets into all these bays, and it gets into these bayous. It's a very dangerous situation. But Morgan City over to Intercoastal City, including Vermilion Bay, 6 to 9 feet of that storm surge. Mouth of the river over to Ocean Springs, 7 to 11. In Lake Pontchartrain, that water gets pushed from the east through the Wrigley's into Lake Pontchartrain, 4 to 7 feet of that storm surge. So please listen to those local officials, because it's not just the storm surge. This is a life-threatening amount of rain. The Weather Prediction Center predicting the rainfall, looking at a high risk, the highest risk they can issue, a high risk of getting flash flooding around this area here, where we're forecasting 10 to 15 inches of rain in red. Some of these areas 20 inches of rainfall, and you put storm surge on top of that, you can't drain the rain. It piles up. So your rivers, your bayous, watch out for those warnings. The weather forecast offices will put out flood warnings. Really pay attention to those. From Mobile back to the Mississippi coast, you can see some areas, up to 8-10 inches of rain, just dangerous, all the way up through Jackson. You look at Tupelo, Natchez, Vicksburg, any one of these areas can get a significant amount of rain. So pay attention. Today's the day to wrap up all your preparedness: rain, storm surge, flooding, wind, all hazards. Be ready. Please listen to those local officials. If they're telling you that you got to get out of there, do it. This has been Ken Graham at the National Hurricane Center.